Hebrews chapter 8 verse number 5, who serve unto the example and shadow of heavenly things, as Moses was admonished of God when he was about to make the tabernacle. For see, saith he, that thou make all things according to the pattern showed to thee in the mount. Shadow of heavenly things. Shadow of heavenly things. Second word is the word sacrifice. The sacrifices, the word soteria in the Greek is used 29 times. See how sacrifices were used. Hebrews chapter 5 verse 1. For every high priest taken from among men is ordained for men in things pertaining to God, that he may offer both gifts and sacrifices for what? For sins. Gifts and sacrifices for sins. Hebrews 7:27. Who needed not daily as those high priests to offer up sacrifice, first for his own sins and then for the people's. For this he did once when he offered up himself. So the word sacrifices in the book of Hebrews is what we are pointing out. Hebrews chapter 8 verse 3. The word sacrifices. For every high priest is ordained to offer gifts and sacrifices. Wherefore, it is of necessity that this man have somewhat to offer. Also to offer. Hebrews chapter 9 verse 9. Which was a figure for the time then present, in which were offered both gifts and sacrifices that could not make him that did the service perfect, as pertaining to the conscience. So he talks about the sacrifice of the law in tandem with the sacrifice of Jesus. The sacrifice of the law in tandem with the sacrifice of Jesus. He says the sacrifice of the law is a shadow. It is not the real thing. It's a shadow. It's thick darkness. The sacrifice of the law is in darkness. That is, the sacrifice of the law is not that which is to come. Is in darkness. That which is to come is Jesus. All right. Now, Hebrews 9:23. Please pay attention. It was therefore necessary that the patterns of things in the heavens should be purified with this, but the heavenly things themselves with better sacrifices than this. The heavenly things themselves with better sacrifices. All right. Pattern, animal sacrifice, all the things they gave, but the heavenly itself with better sacrifices. Hebrews 9:26. For then must he often have suffered since the foundation of the world. But now, once in the end of the world, hath he appeared to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself. Hebrews chapter 10 verse 1 now. For the law, having a shadow of good things to come, and not the very image of those things or of the things, can never, with those sacrifices which they offered year by year, continually make the comers thereunto perfect. Hebrews chapter 10 verse 5. Wherefore, when he cometh into the world, he saith, sacrifice and offerings thou wouldest not, but a body hast thou prepared me. Sacrifice and offerings you don't want. Sacrifices and offerings you don't want. That is, God is saying, I don't want sacrifice, I don't want offerings. Hebrews 10:8. Above, when he said sacrifice and offering and burnt offerings, an offering for sin thou wouldest not, neither has pleasure therein, which are offered by the law. He has no pleasure at all in anything offered on the terms of the law. That is, the things that are done under the law are an offense to God. They are an offense. He has no pleasure in them. First of all, he said, I don't want offerings. I don't want sacrifices. Then he now said, anything that came from the law doesn't give me pleasure. It's a provocation. It's an offense to me. Now, that is all the sacrifices and offerings under the law. God has no pleasure in them. Is that clear? If it's clear, can I have a better amen? All right. Hebrews 10:11. And every priest standeth daily, ministering and offering oftentimes the same sacrifices, which can never take away sins. But this man, but this man, after he had offered one sacrifice for sins forever, sat down on the right hand of God. It can never take away sin. So the only offering that matters is the offering of Jesus. The only offering that matters is the offering of Jesus. Hebrews chapter 10 verse 26. For if we sin willfully, after that we have received the knowledge of the truth, there remaineth no more sacrifice for sins. So the writer of Hebrews used sacrifice for what the law offered. Anything the law offered, because it was a shadow. It was a skier. You know, it was a skier. Different from what Jesus offered, which is the real deal. The reality. He is saying to you that all those physical offerings, he is saying to you that all those physical offerings, wave offering, heave offering, sin offering, all of them were a shadow of the offering of Jesus. That's why the guy in the temple made more sense. He said, can you provide for me a sacrifice? Because there's nothing I can offer that is good enough. Therefore, only God can provide the sacrifice that qualifies to meet the demands of justice where sin is concerned. Only God can offer. So, pay attention. The publican was asking for a redeemer, whereas the Pharisee was saying, well, I have done this, I have given that, I have done that, I have paid my tithe, I can never be poor, I have given my offerings, God must respond, God will not disappoint me because I pay my tithe and I fast. Pharisee, sitting on the seat of Moses. Then he said, that man has exalted himself, he shall be abased. And he that humbleth himself will be exalted. That's why, because he is seeing salvation in the sacrifice, or in the offering of the sacrifice for sins. Hebrews 10:1. For the law, having a shadow of good things to come, and not the very image of those things, can never, with those sacrifices which they offered year by year, continually make the comers thereunto perfect. Which they offered how many times? Year by year. And they were offering it continually. It cannot make the comers perfect. The word offer, which they offered, is a Greek word prospero. P-R-O-S-P-H-E-R-O. Used 47 times. It means to bring it, to offer, to bring it. You know, what we read about the tithe is that they will bring it. They will bring it. He says they brought it year by year, meaning he's talking about the tithe, which they brought. Hebrews chapter 5 verse 1. For every high priest taken from among men is ordained for men in things pertaining to God, that he may offer both gifts and sacrifices for sins. Verse 3 now. And by reason hereof he ought, as for the people, so also for himself, to offer for sins. Hebrews 7:27. Who needed not daily, as those high priests, to offer up sacrifice, first for his own sins and then for the people's. For this he did once when he offered up himself. Hallelujah. Jesus is the offering. Jesus is the offering. Hebrews chapter 8 verse 3 to 4. Pay attention. For every high priest is ordained to offer gifts and sacrifices. Wherefore, it is of necessity that this man have somewhat also to offer. Next verse. For if he were on earth, he should not be a priest, seeing that there are priests that offer gifts according to the law. According to the law. Hebrews 9, 25, 26. Lot of scriptures healthy for your spirit. Nor yet that he should offer himself often, as the high priest entereth into the holy place every year with blood of others. 26. For then must he often have suffered since the foundation of the world. But now, once in the end of the world, hath he appeared to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself. Hebrews chapter 13 verse number 15. By him therefore let us offer the sacrifice of praise to God continually. That is the fruit of our lips. The fruit of our lips. Giving thanks to his name. The sacrifice of praise. The only thing we are to offer by him, that is by Jesus. We offer the sacrifice of praise to God. How many times? Continually. So we don't offer anything to God. We don't offer anything to God. We only offer the sacrifice of praise. What we offer will be the sacrifice of praise, which is the fruit of our lips. Because all the offerings and gifts of the Old Testament have been removed by the offering of Jesus. They have been removed by the offering of Jesus. So what we offer now will be thanking God for Jesus. Now, Hebrews chapter 10, where we started this journey. Remember, we are saying all of this because we said column 2. You know, remember column 2? Column 1, Genesis. Column 2, Exodus to Malachi. Column 3, 4 Gospels. Column 4, Epistles. So, column 2, which is Exodus to Malachi, and column 3, which are the Gospels, are the same thing. So all the physical offerings of the Old Testament have been replaced by the offering of Jesus. Every offering for justification in the Old Testament have been replaced by the offering of Jesus. So do we still offer? Yes. What do we offer? The sacrifice of praise, which is the fruit of our lips, thanking God for Jesus. Hebrews chapter 10 verse number 2. For then will they not have ceased to be offered, because that the worshippers, once purged, should have had no more conscience of sins. So number 1, he says that these offerings couldn't make the comers thereunto perfect. Verse 2, he says the worshippers, service, that is those who serve. The word there is the word latrio. Latrio in the Greek. L-A-T-R-E-U-O. Latrio. It means to serve. It says, if they are once purged, they won't do it again and again and again. Verse 2, the worshippers. Then Hebrews chapter 9 verse 9, which was a figure for the time then present, in which we are offered both gifts and sacrifices that could not make him that did the service perfect, as pertaining to the conscience. As pertaining to the conscience that did the service. That's what they were doing. They were doing the service, but they were not perfect. Hebrews 9:14. I love the writer of Hebrews. He has helped us a lot. How much more shall the blood of Christ, who through the eternal Spirit offered himself without spot to God, purge your conscience from dead works to serve the living God? The one they did under the law could not purge their conscience, even though they were doing it every year. But Jesus did it once, and by that one offering, he has purged our conscience forever to serve the living God. So we are the true worshippers, purged by Jesus. Zemano kata. So now that our conscience is purged, how do we serve God? We offer the fruit of our lips, giving thanks to his name. Hebrews 12:28. Wherefore, we, receiving a kingdom which cannot be moved, let us have grace, whereby we may serve God acceptably with reverence and godly fear. Same word, latrio, serve God. Hebrews 13:10. We have an altar whereof they have no right to eat, which serve the tabernacle. So all the offerings we are to serve. All the offerings we are to serve. Don't miss that. But now our own consciences have been purged. So we don't do anything to be perfect. We have been perfected by Christ. We are not praying to be perfect. We are not singing to be perfect. We are not worshiping to be perfect. We are perfected. So we offer our offering of thanksgiving in songs, gratitude, and in melody. So what we do now is to offer the sacrifice of praise, which is the fruit of our lips, giving thanks to his name. Hebrews chapter 10 verse 9. Then said he, Lo, I come to do thy will, O God. He taketh away the first, that he may establish the second. Dadalodaba, nekoroto sakaya. There are scriptures you read, you just blast in tongues. Egebene katokona kanamenga, jegenge, 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 ebarato barato, jatola, mengataya. Now, remember, we are discussing the tithing law, which Jesus talked about in Matthew 23:23 and Luke 11:42 and Luke 18:10-14. Now Hebrews 10:9. The word taketh away is a very strong term. He taketh away the first, that he may establish the second. That word taketh away in verse 7. Look at verse 7. How does he take it away? Hebrews 10:7. How does he take it away? Then said I, Lo, I come in the volume of the book. It is written of me to do thy will, O God. How does he take it away? The word take away is the word anairo. A-N-A-I-E-R-O. Anairo is used 24 times. It's a very strong word. You will see where it is used in Matthew 2:16 and Luke 22:2. That's where it is used. Matthew 2:16, Luke 22:2. It's used for murder. Murder, to kill the first, to abolish it. To kill the first, so in Jesus, the plan of the Father is to kill the law, to murder the law. If you want to accuse God for murder, that's the one you can accuse him for. He murdered the law. To murder the law, to kill it. He takes away the first. He killed the first. He murdered the first. The thing is, there are so many memorial services for the Lord today in many churches. Oh, we miss you, tithe. Let's do service for tithe. Oh, we miss you, offering of the firstborn. Oh, we miss you, wave offering. Oh, so many memorial services. Jesus killed the law, but the church of Jesus is celebrating the dead law. The law is dead. He takes away the first. He kills it that he may establish the second. The word establish is the word histemai. Histemai, it means to place in or to make to stand. To place in or to make to stand. So he kills the first. He shows you they must not exist side by side. The first and the second cannot be combined practice. No, he kills the first out, abolish, so that he will establish, he will make to stand, or he will place the second in the place of the first. They must not exist side by side. For example, you cannot teach the tithing law as giving.